zone, third down, and against the run, which you guys were really good at in 2018.
I mean, you just went down a whole laundry list of things there, which is, I think, all the things that we do need to make sure we accomplish. The red zone is the biggest thing. I mean, obviously, it's pretty clear in the game of football, the team that scores the most points wins. So when teams get down in the red zone, you have to make sure you keep them out. And that's a big thing we're focused on. Obviously, getting off the field on third down, giving the ball back to our offense is huge. And one of the main ways to do that is stopping the run on first and second down. So you put them into tougher third down situations. So all those things combined are the things that will make us better. And it really comes down to all the phases, communicating, playing well together, understanding the defense, keeping offenses off guard. I think Coach Weaver's done a great job so far in our virtual meetings and in the first day we've had. And we're looking forward to keeping working with them in the future.
Art Berman.
Hey, JJ, two questions. One, with some players opting out, was it a tough decision for you to decide to play? And secondly, what are some thoughts about coming to work now for the first time without DJ Reader?
Yeah, for me personally, it wasn't tough. I mean, I'm down here in Houston and my family's all back home and everything. So my wife and I and the dogs are down here. And obviously my wife just came from a bubble situation with the NWSL. And it's just us two in the house. So I'm fortunate to not have anyone in my direct line of life right now that has underlying conditions or anything. So I'm in a situation where I'm lucky. I know other guys aren't in the same situation, so it's a much more difficult decision. In terms of coming to work without DJ, obviously DJ is one of my best friends. I'm very happy for him in the contract that he got, and I wish him all the best. Have seen him this offseason quite a bit. Definitely going to miss him. I mean, just a guy that he's one of my best friends. So you're always going to miss one of your best friends when they leave. But the thing I love about our D-line room is our camaraderie. I mean, our D-line room is so tight-knit and so close. I love going to work with these guys every day, Donnie and the whole crew, Angelo, Carlos, everybody. So it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. But coming to work in general is weird now. I mean, it's like we're in like a Terminator movie or something. Like there's facial recognition doors, and you don't touch anybody, and you have like a beeper. You have to. It's pretty wild.
Matt.
JJ, you mentioned Kaylee's experience out in Utah. What has she told you about that? What have you learned talking with her, how they had such a successful run in the bubble situation, keeping everyone safe? And at the same time, do you kind of feel like guinea pigs of the NFL because you and the Chiefs are doing everything first because you play the season opener?
Yeah, I mean, her situation and ours is obviously a lot different with them being in a bubble, being able to fully control the full atmosphere, them all being in a hotel and them all training and playing at the exact same location. So it's much easier, obviously, to control that atmosphere than it is in the situation that we're in. Down here, obviously, we're doing everything we can. And I think that I have to give a ton of credit to our coaching staff, OB, everybody has done a great job. Jeff Kaplan and the whole crew have done a great job making sure that everything here is as safe as it possibly can be. It's never going to be 100% in the situation we're in because guys do go home and they have to, grocery shop and things like that. But what they've done with the building, what they've done with the protocols around here, they really have done a top-notch job in making sure that everything stays safe as it can be.
Aaron, got to unmute you. So,
JJ, what do you think of the work that Charles Omenihu has done and kind of his potential and upside? And just what are your early impressions of Ross Blacklock, the rookie draft pick?
Yeah, we've only had one day, and it's only been a walkthrough, so I can't tell a whole lot yet from these guys and how they've been and everything. But that's certainly one of the things I'm most looking forward to about this is we haven't been able to train together. We haven't been able to see each other. We haven't been able to do anything together. So I'm very interested, to see what shape guys are in. I believe our guys have been working their asses off all off season. And I've seen the videos of Charles and what he's been doing. I know Ross has been working hard. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys and seeing how they are in shape, and then also seeing what they can do on the field. For a guy like Charles going from year 1 to year 2, that's a big transition, and it's a chance to make a big jump. And for a guy like Ross, it's a tough year to come in as a rookie, not having a chance to do OTAs, learn the playbook and things like that. But if he can prove he can pick it up quickly and get out there and help us, that would be huge.
Christy?
JJ, as the person that's been on this team the longest, what do you see as like the key or the biggest factor that will allow you guys to take that next step and to get to where you've always wanted to go?
Well, I have to give that title to John Weeks. That is not my title to keep. I am not the longest tenured Texan, so I will give John his credit there. He deserves it. We have to go to work. I mean, it's no different than any other year. Every single year, the goal is the same. So it's not like we're not trying to do those things. And in terms of myself and the defense, it's what we talked about at the beginning with John. It's the red zone defense. It's getting off the field on third down. It's putting ourselves in good situations by stopping the run early on. It's the simple things of football that make you successful. And there's no secret about what makes football team successful. It's just a matter of who executes that the best. And in this year, there's a whole bunch more factors that factor into it. Which team does the best job of staying healthy? Which team does the best job of being responsible and disciplined off the field so that they don't have positive tests, having guys have to sit out? This year is so much different than every other year. That's going to be just as big a factor as any.
Sarah?
JJ, thanks for doing this during a cup final.
No problem. Does anybody have a score update for me? I'm sad I'm missing it.
1-0 Chelsea.
That's what I like to hear.
Has baseball's the struggles they've had given you any concern about what the NFL is planning to do?
It's certainly interesting to watch. I think watching it and trying to figure out what you can learn from it and how you can make sure that you don't have a situation like that where one team has 14, 15 guys and then you're having to cancel a whole bunch of games. I mean, I think that there's no question we're watching it and trying to make sure that we don't follow in that same pathway. But like I said earlier, anytime you're in a situation where you're not in a full bubble, there is going to be that inherent risk. It is not going to be 100% guaranteed to be safe. So they're putting a lot of trust in the guys to make sure they're doing the right things and to make sure that they're handling themselves right outside the building. And then you're also trusting the testing process and trusting the fact that you are playing a contact sport where you're literally rubbing up against people all game long, all practice long. So it's just a matter of understanding. And that's why we have the opt-out, and that's why we make sure everybody knows fully what the risks are going into it. Because like I said, there is some risk. It is not 100% fail-proof.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, JJ, obviously during these times, there's been a lot more positive and needed conversation about everything that's going on in the world all through these last months, your participation in things, Deshaun's, and similarly, conversations that under these circumstances, as a team, can y'all still have? Your locker room is totally different. You've got a lot of strong voices. You're one of the many, many leaders on this team. How do all those things kind of affect you? And what are your thoughts about what's going on?
Yeah, I think those conversations are certainly going to happen. I think it's been a little bit of a transition these first couple of days. People are literally trying to figure out their schedule, trying to figure out the COVID testing, getting in the building, who's in what locker room and stuff like that. But I think as soon as we settle into our routine and settle into our rhythm, and we can get into these pseudo full team meetings where we have everybody together, that's when those conversations are going to happen, because they are, like you said, extremely important. And we certainly don't want them to get lost in amongst all this. I think that we just have to settle our bearings for a bit here, but they most definitely will happen. We had them early on in the offseason a little bit, but it's much more impactful when everybody's here in person and we can have them.
Kim?
Hey, JJ, can you, I know in the past you've always prided yourself on working out and taking great care of staying in shape. Are you doing anything different because of the pandemic and COVID? You approached getting ready for the season any differently this year? Are there any special protocols you put in place? And if so, can you tell us what that is?
I would say not specifically to COVID for my own personal risk, but I would say that the quarantine situation has given me literally nothing to do but work out every day. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. You can't go out. You can't go to the movies. You can't go to eat. So the workout program for me this off season has been awesome because I've had a full off season to do my workouts exactly how I need to do them. I've been able to focus on my nutrition every single day. I've counted every single calorie the whole way. Basically tried to fully transform my body from the beginning of the off season until now. And it truly has been one of the best off seasons from a workout standpoint that I've ever had. And I'm very, very pleased about it. I mean, my body feels as good as it's felt since probably 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. So I'm really looking forward to getting into camp and just getting to work.
John McClain?
JJ, you've had a year to watch Omenahu and Jacob Martin. This is their second season with Weaver. How important is their development, what you guys want to achieve with your pass rush?
Yeah, it's extremely important. Obviously, those guys being effective will be massive for us. You know, with our third down package, you have to have pressure coming from all different places. You have to have guys coming up the middle, being able to put pressure on the pocket up the middle so that the edges have the ability to bend the corner and get to the quarterback. And then with some of the guys in our league and some of the guys we're going to play early on in the season who are extremely mobile and extremely good at moving around in the pocket and sometimes out the back of the pocket, you have to have guys who can chase them down and be able to get them wherever they want to go, because those guys really will go anywhere and they have the arm strength to throw from anywhere. So it's going to be very important that we're all on the same page and that we all do a great job together of collapsing the pocket and not just getting pressure from one spot or another.
John, did you have a follow-up?
I just wanted to ask you, in 2011, it's documented, there were more injuries that season after the lockout. We're all talking about COVID-19. Are you worried about having more injuries because of the nature of this offseason?
I think that's absolutely one of the concerns that the NFLPA has brought up and then that the players have brought up as a whole. I mean, if you think about 2011, that was my first year in the league. So we were locked out. So a lot of people will try and compare that because we couldn't be in the facility. So they try and say that that's the same as this year. But the difference was in 2011, you could still train at your local gym. You could still get together in groups with other players and train and run and practice and do things. This year, you couldn't do any of that. You know, you're not supposed to go to your local gym. You're not supposed to train in groups. You're not supposed to do any of that. Some guys were living in an apartment that doesn't have a weight room or that doesn't have a place for them to run. So everybody's coming in a very different situation this year, whereas in the past, guys have had that opportunity to work out. So I think that one of the most important parts of this ramp-up period and one of the reasons the preseason games got taken out was to analyze where each guy's at individually, because everybody's going to be coming in and starting from a different place. Some guys are going to have the luxury of training full out and they're going to be 100% ready to go. And some guys are going to need a lot of time. So I would say that's definitely a concern. And that's something that each team and each player needs to look at individually, because it certainly is something that should be watched.
Mark Berman.
JJ, a couple questions. One, have you any further thoughts, changed your mind about wearing that shield? It is optional. And number two, what's it like working this offseason with Ben Fairchild?
Well, number one, no, I told you before, I think the shield is just you've been outside in Houston. I think yesterday the feels like temperature, the heat index was 109. Now you put a fishbowl on your head and you go and try and run around for 3 hours and beat a grown man. It's not going to go too well. And so I don't think that would go too well for me either. So no, as long as it's optional, I won't be wearing it. And number two, Ben's been incredible. Ben's done a great job. He's been part of the transformation that fully, we sat down in January and we talked about the goals for the off season. And the goal was to completely rebuild my body from the ground up, to break it all the way down, to learn what we need to do, what we need to change, how we need to change the training program. And we rebuilt it from the very simplest steps in the foundation all the way up to where we are today. And he's done an incredible job, and I'm fortunate to have him as a good trainer. And the staff here has done a good job too. Mike Eubanks has done a great job implementing things from here forward. So I'm really looking forward to this season.
Vanessa.
Hey, JJ, how important is the veteran leadership going to be this year? I mean, it's important every year, but, obviously during COVID and when these guys haven't really had a chance to adjust.
Yeah, it's huge. I think anytime you have Zoom meetings and you have guys calling into team meetings and position meetings from their house, the veteran leadership is really important, because that type of thing can go awry pretty quickly. I mean, you can have guys, blacked out their screen, pretending they're involved in the meetings and things, or you can have guys completely engaged, locked into the meetings, answering questions, asking questions. And that's what we have. We have a great group of guys. We have a great group of veteran leaders who hold everybody accountable, who understand how important it is for us to get this work in, and who understand that the most prepared team this season and the most disciplined team is going to have success. So we've done a great job with that, and we're lucky to have great leaders.
Brandon.
Hey, JJ, you were real vocal right before training camp about, the differences between the NFL and the NFLPA and you and a lot of other veteran players. Why was it important for you to get the message out there and to kind of communicate what was going on at that time?
Yeah, I haven't necessarily been that vocal in that aspect for a long time in my career. And just like a lot of guys, when you're young in your career and you're early on in your career, you just want to play. You don't really care about anything else. You don't really care about the economics of it or how protocols go or anything. You just want to get out there and play. And the longer I go and the more I understand about it, I just want to make sure that the players are at least having that voice. And I had rookies here on this team that were supposed to be reporting on a certain date, and they hadn't any clue or any voice about what was going on, about the protocols, about the tests or anything. So that's when I really tried to step up and make sure that those guys who were asking me what should they do, I wanted to make sure that they could get those answers, because I knew they didn't necessarily have that voice to speak up and get those answers. So that's why I was on every one of those calls. That's why I was trying to make sure we got the right answers. And I think we came to something that you're always going to be able to find a way to make something better. But I think that we came to an agreement that's going to keep everybody as safe as possible given the circumstances, and also give guys the option to opt out if they want to, if they don't feel safe.
Mark? Sorry, Brandon, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just real quick, because you mentioned earlier when Sarah asked you about Major League Baseball and how you were observing that. Well, I mean, we've seen that they've had at least one team to have more than a dozen folks test positive. What would be enough for you to think that, hey, we shouldn't play anymore? Like, what is an outbreak big enough for you to not feel comfortable to continue doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't know if I have an exact answer on the number. I think that the most important thing for me, and I'm not 100% fully versed on exactly what happened with the MLB at the very beginning of it. But I think the most important thing is that the protocol that goes into place once somebody tests positive, because you can't have guys that have tested positive going out there and still participating with anybody else. So I think the protocols that we have in place for when a guy tests positive are immediately removing them from the situation. And we also have these tracking devices that do the contact tracing for you, so you know exactly who has been at risk around that player. So I think that's a big thing for us, that as long as that's implemented following a positive test, I think that will be successful. But again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know exactly how this thing works. I think there's a lot of very, very smart people that still don't know exactly how it works. So we're kind of going, we're trying to figure it out the best we can. But like I said, there's always going to be some level of risk.
Take a couple more. Mark Berman.
JJ, what does Deshaun Watson mean to you, to your team, and to the city?
Yeah, I mean, he means an opportunity to win every game. I'm very fortunate to have a quarterback who will keep you in every game no matter what the situation, and know that you go into a game with a chance to win every single game you play. He's a great player. He can make anything happen on the field. He can get out of any tough situation. You never feel like you're out of a game when you have him at quarterback. Does a great job leading that offense, does a great job going out there and putting points on the board. And so my job as a defensive player and the defensive leader of the team is to do whatever possible to give him the ball so that he can go do what he does. We just want to keep points off the board and give for the ball.
Last one for John.
JJ, have you guys put that Chiefs loss behind you, or is it still incentive? And are y'all closer to a Super Bowl now than you think you were last year?
I think not learning from that situation would be naive of us. I think that you have to understand what happened in that situation. You have to let that situation fuel you and let that fire build within you, knowing how terrible that felt. So, yeah, we have to learn from it, grow from it, and be able to handle what comes next after that. So, no, I don't think that we're necessarily ignoring it or moving on from it. We learn from it, and then we grow and build off of it. So that's our goal. And I do think that learning from a situation like that does get us closer to where we want to be in terms of our goals of winning a championship.
All right. Thanks, JJ.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.